As many as 24 children in the small city of Franklin have been diagnosed with rare cancers in the last decade. Now, their parents say they're hopeful a recently funded federal law will help them find out why. Trevor's Law aims to help better define clusters and update the federal guidelines for investigating them. But as Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports, whether the law will find the cause of these cancers is up for debate.
More than 3 years ago, parents Carrie Reinhardt and Stacy Davidson started searching for answers as to why their kids and so many others were getting sick. Reinhardt's teenage daughter, Emma Grace, died from a brain tumor 4 years ago. She had a rare form of cancer that's even less common in children.
Emma had a better chance of getting eaten by a shark and hit by lightning at the exact same time than having that tumor. That's how rare it is.
Reinhardt and other parents with the group If It Was Your Child suspect an old hazardous waste site is to blame. The Amphenol site is contaminated with the cancer-causing chemicals PCE and TCE. They've been found in the area at levels ranging from 3 to 250 times higher than what's considered safe. But so far, state officials have been hesitant to say that Franklin has a cancer cluster. Residents are frustrated. At a forum this summer, a lot of residents thought the state wasn't listening to their concerns.
Unfortunately, there's not a given number of cases or a given percentage of cases that makes a cancer cluster. The cancer cluster...
Then how is it not a cancer cluster?
Okay.
If you can't give me a number that is, how can you give me one that's not?
The definition of a cancer cluster is broad. According to the Centers for Disease Control, it's defined as more cancer cases than expected in a specific area among a certain group of people over a certain period of time. That's where Trevor's Law comes in. It directs the federal government to develop criteria for designating cancer clusters and update its guidelines for investigating them. But whether it'll help find the source of cancers like the one in Franklin isn't clear.
We, in public health, very rarely find environmental or causal relationships.
Engel says all cancer clusters are real, but some of them come up through random chance. And finding out whether a cluster is random or meaningful can be hard. Even two people living in the same house could have very different exposures to toxins during the course of their day. And even if you're exposed to the same toxin, not all bodies react in the same way.
We know that not all smokers get cancer, and not all people with lung cancer, as an example, were smokers.
Engel says state and federal health officials have had the most luck at finding the cause of workplace cancers. In the 1920s, for example, watch dial makers made watches glow in the dark using radium.
And these watch dial painters would often dip the brush in their mouth and then paint the radium onto the watch dial. And they developed these really bizarre tumors of their jaw.
Engel says, but even if updating the federal guidelines doesn't help find the cause of cancer clusters, it could improve the way health departments track cancers. He says it could also help agencies better communicate with concerned residents.
You're entering a community that's already upset, often angry, and the worst thing to do is to come in and think that you know more than they do, and appear to be dismissive.
Carrie Reinhardt says state and federal agencies have dismissed the parents' concerns almost every step of the way. She wonders why.
What do I win from this? What do I gain? I will never win this battle. Even if they clean up every drop of TCE and another child is never exposed, for me and my life and my child, that will never be a win.
For Indiana News Desk, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
Our energy environment reporter, Rebecca Thiel, now joins us to tell us more about Trevor's Law. You know, it just seems like we really don't know what's going to happen next, do we?
That's right, Joe. Yeah. The federal government could choose to change how these cancer clusters are designated and how to update them in any number of ways. And if you look at how the law is drafted versus how it passed, you know, a lot was cut out of that law. We went from 30 pages to just 2. So you can see how a lot of that language being cut out has really made it a lot more vague and kind of hard to understand. And also, there were a lot more things in that drafted law that held the government more accountable, had more deadlines. Now we don't really see any of that.
So former U.S. Senator for Indiana Joe Donnelly was really pushed for this. It's been 2 years. Why has nothing happened?
You know, it's hard to say. At first, the Department of Health and Human Services said, you know, we're going through a change in leadership. We really don't feel like we have anyone with the authority to kind of get this going. But now we're not sure, and so we don't really know what that'll mean for kids in Franklin.
And all those very concerned parents there, too.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, thank you very much.